Kenny Pickett was starting to look like the Kenny Pickett mark that we saw last year towards the end of the season. Like when it comes down to the Pittsburgh Steelers needing plays and just closing out games or needing a play, he's just starting to show up. So you can start calling him like Clutch Kenny, and you can just see
yes, Ike.
Yesterday late in the game, he just like turned into a totally different person, Mark. But I really do Bleav the running schemes between Najee and Jalen. They kept it second and short, third and short. It was more manageable than a few times in other games where it was like third and 12, third and 15. Now it's hard, but getting Deontay Johnson too back is always a good thing. But I did see them use AR, Allen Robinson. AR a lot, especially coming in motion. You get a big receiver, a better receiver. He's playing against his former team. So you always, he's going to be amped up a little bit more when it came down to that. But just overall, Kenny Pickett in the running game. I know what Deontay can do. I know what George Pickens can do. And Kenny showed me in clutch moments that he can be clutch. But for me, it was that running game, kept in the second and third down to shorten shorts or shorten mediums.
Ike, I want to continue this conversation about Kenny Pickett. And I think I heard this on another podcast, but this comparison makes a lot of sense. I'm not the biggest into player comparisons, but how Kenny Pickett plays late in games reminds me of Eli Manning. And the reason I say this is we're 18 starts in now. He has 6 game-winning drives in 5 fourth-quarter comebacks. You call him Clutch Kenny. I think that's a very apt nickname because it doesn't always look pretty in the first 3 quarters. But when the game's on the line, he's demonstrated the ability to deliver time and time and time again.
No, that's exactly what he did. Stood in the pocket, knew he was about to get hit, looked gun down the barrel, and delivered one up the seam to George Pickens and another one on the side to Deontay on that third down. So that's exactly what you looking for in a quarterback. You don't want your quarterback taking them hits. Jalen Warren and Najee did a very good job of stepping up and picking up the blitzes. But it was a few times that Kenny knew he was about to get hit, but Kenny also knew, like, I got to deliver this mail. So he wound up delivering the mail too as well. And as a defensive player, when you see the quarterback taking them kind of shots and taking them kind of hits and standing up in the pocket, you don't want to do nothing but go back out on the field and give the man another opportunity because he understands the value of each and every game. And that's what Kenny Pickett did. But Kenny was on point late, and I'd rather my quarterback start off get hot late than get hot early and kind of flame down. And that's exactly what happened in that game. Matthew Stafford got hot early. It didn't look good for Pittsburgh, but he kind of flamed out a little bit. Kenny didn't look too good in that first half, but starting that second half, he caught fire. So if you're going to give me 2 tails of a quarterback, just give me with Kenny. That's exactly what Kenny, throughout the last 6-7 games last year, Mark, that's exactly what he did. He just started. When Pittsburgh needed a play, he just became Mr. Clutch.
Yeah, and I look at yesterday's game. The second half I thought was his best half of football in a Steelers uniform. Only 1 incompletion. He's 11 of 12 passing, 152 yards. And so the Steelers really struggled in the first half. And we could record this episode and honestly change the team names around. And it was like kind of what the narrative has been with the Steelers this year of hanging around, not looking pretty through 3 quarters. And then when the fourth quarter comes, this team delivers 28 points in the last 2 games in fourth quarters. And in the first 3 of the last 2 games the Steelers have played, only 13 points. But I look at it yesterday where it's like 3 points in the first half. And then you enter the fourth quarter with just 110 total yards of offense. The Steelers roll up 190 yards on 23 plays, 2 touchdowns. Remember, 3 of those plays are kneel downs as well, 191 yards in the fourth quarter. So something clicked in the fourth quarter for this offense, Ike. And if they can just put that together for a full game now, I was really encouraged with what I saw in the fourth quarter with this team. And you mentioned Jalen Warren and Najee Harris too. How about playing both of those guys on the field at the same time? I've seen some packages where the Steelers have done that offensively. I think it creates confusion by the opposing defense because you don't know where it's going to go with both of those players on the field.
Or you just could be having both of them to pick up pick up a blitz or a
Not a
block.
bad problem to
One or
have
two.
either, Ike.
Yes, it's not a bad problem. But getting back to your which I didn't answer the first time, but getting back to your Kenny Pickett reminding you of Eli Manning. One thing we always said about Eli was he was always just like okay during the regular season, but during the postseason, nobody wanted to see Eli. Eli turned into a totally different quarterback. You wanted to dead Eli to make sure he didn't get to the postseason. Because once he got to the postseason, you can just go ahead and give them their ring. Just ask Tom and company.
Yeah.
The two L's Tom and them took was against Eli, and Eli wakes up in that postseason. The comparison, I can see what you mean by that, as far as like coming back, clutch Kenny, as far as like coming back and getting a drive or two, or getting a play or two for the team to come back and win, or put his team in position to win. You just saw a different kind of body language yesterday. You saw a different team on offense yesterday. You saw a different style when it comes down to running. When I saw Najee usually don't talk smack, but then I had to think about it again. Najee is from the California area, so I'm sure he had a ton of family members and friends there. So Najee ran with a lot of authority. You know, Najee is 6'3" and some change, 242. But Jalen came off the bench and he's just, that spark, which he always been throughout the course of the year. But you get them two going, it's going to be tough to stop Pittsburgh. We already know on the perimeters what you got. You got Deontay, he came back, he looked good. And you got George, he all the way different. But you get them two running with the way they ran. If Najee and Jalen run the way they ran yesterday, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Now, just Coach Matt Canada just got to get more creative on his personnel and what down the distance on who he wants on the field. I would say in which matchups he like based on his personnel going against the opposing team defense. But other than that, Mark, Pittsburgh just had an attitude. We ain't even going to talk about the defense of T.J. Watt, which we are later on.
We will.
Yeah. But Pittsburgh on the offensive side, you can just tell they just had a different kind of attitude. It was a more aggressive. It was more what I'm used to seeing when it came down to when you said the Pittsburgh Steelers. A running game and play action pass and getting the ball in your playmakers' hands.